Welcome to HistoryFlix English. So in this explainer, we're diving into how one single invention from the 15th century completely turned human civilization upside down and honestly laid the entire groundwork for the digital world we live in today. We're talking about a massive shift in how humanity stores, shares, and builds upon information. It is really hard to overstate just how huge this was, but by the end of our time together, you'll see exactly how a simple mechanical press literally rewrote our history.
Right, so let's start by picturing a pretty frustrating dark age of information. Imagine if every single book, every single page you ever read had to be painstakingly copied out by hand. Think about the sheer mind-numbing labor involved in that for a second. A single book could take months or even years to finish, and if a scribe made just one tiny mistake, they might have to scrap the whole page and start over. Because it was such a painfully slow, manual process, knowledge was incredibly rare, wildly expensive, and super difficult to share.
And because of that, before the 15th century, there was this massive, stark divide in who actually owned books. Basically, it was strictly kings, incredibly wealthy families, and powerful religious institutions. The absolute elite. They were the only ones who could even dream of affording the astronomical cost of a hand-copied text. But for ordinary people, owning or even reading a single book was basically impossible. You were just completely locked out of the world of written knowledge.
But then, everything flips right around 1440. A German inventor named Johannes Gutenberg introduces the movable type printing press in the city of Mainz. And wow, this was the spark of a true revolution. Instead of relying on someone scribbling out every page by hand, Gutenberg brought a completely new method to the table, and it caught on like wildfire. Within just a few decades, printing presses were spreading all across Europe, suddenly pumping out not just a few books, but literally millions of them on religion, philosophy, medicine, literature, you name it.
Now here's what's so brilliant about Gutenberg's solution to the whole speed problem. It wasn't just a machine, it was an entirely new system. He created these individual metal letters that you could arrange into words and sentences, ink up, and then press firmly right onto paper. But the real magic, the absolute game changer, reusability. Once a page was printed, you just took those exact same metal letters apart, reorganized them, and reused them to crank out thousands of completely different copies. It was simple, but it made book production so much faster and cheaper than anything the world had ever seen.
So one of his very first major flexes with this new tech was the famous Gutenberg Bible. It's one of the earliest large books ever produced using movable metal type in Europe. And what's really fascinating here is that Gutenberg didn't just sacrifice quality for speed. Actually, the visual quality of these printed pages was stunning, and it absolutely amazed people. Because it looked so good and was produced so fast, the demand for printed books didn't just grow, it absolutely skyrocketed overnight.
But here's the crucial takeaway. This invention wasn't just some neat mechanical upgrade, it was a cultural explosion. For the very first time, the printing press made books affordable. And when things become affordable, massive barriers fall. This meant ordinary people, the exact same people who were previously totally locked out of knowledge, could finally learn to read. They suddenly had access to the cutting-edge ideas that were actively shaping their world.
And the ripple effects of all this newfound literacy? Completely staggering. Historians actually believe this rapid spread of ideas directly fueled massive world-altering events. We're talking the Renaissance, the Protestant Reformation, and the Scientific Revolution. Honestly, none of those would have happened at the same speed or scale without the printing press. Suddenly, writers could reach huge audiences, scientists could instantly share their discoveries across borders, and schools and universities just rapidly expanded to keep up with this incredible thirst for knowledge.
And of course, the influence didn't stop at just academic or religious books. The variety of printed stuff just exploded. We got newspapers, magazines, maps, government documents, all becoming exponentially easier to produce. Because of this, everyday information was traveling faster than ever before. For the first time in human history, you had people reading the exact same news, exploring the same maps, and absorbing the same ideas across vast distances. It connected people and cultures in ways that were previously unimaginable.
Which brings us right up to the profound modern legacy of Gutenberg's genius. Think about it. You're watching this explainer on a screen right now, right? But it was this exact 15th century foundation of mass communication that completely paved the way for our modern digital world. The whole concept of modern publishing, broadcasting information to a huge audience quickly and efficiently, it all traces its roots straight back to those little reusable metal letters in Mainz. The printing press literally built the core infrastructure for global communication.
So that leads perfectly to this beautiful summary. Changing the way information is shared can change the course of history itself. Just let that sink in. Even today, in an era where we're all constantly scrolling on phones and tablets, physical printed books and newspapers are still educating and inspiring millions. The medium might evolve over time, but Gutenberg proved once and for all that when you democratize information, you literally transform humanity.
I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Without Gutenberg's brilliant invention, what on earth would our modern world look like today? Without that specific leap in technology, the spread of knowledge would have stayed at an absolute crawl. The scientific breakthroughs, the cultural awakenings, the educational systems we totally take for granted, they would have been delayed by centuries. It's safe to say our hyper-connected modern world simply wouldn't exist. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning how the flow of information shapes the world around you.